Hi, welcome to our third Business Strategy Live. And today we're talking to Sue again from CATAC, Sue Armstrong. But today we're going to talk about research and development rather than capital allowances. This is a key area that businesses have missed out on in the past. So as a way of starting this off, we thought we might start with a video so it gives you a quick explanation of what they are, and then we'll start chatting to Sue and follow that through.
Did you know there could be money hiding in the work you do? No? Well, there could be, and we'd like to help you find it. It's called Research and Development Tax Relief, and it's not just about people in white lab coats. Essentially, it's the government's way of awarding businesses that are developing new or improving existing systems, processes, products, materials, and devices. You can even claim for failed projects. Our team are R&D experts, so we'll get you the maximum claim possible. In fact, our average client tax benefit is in the thousands. We'll make a full analysis of your activity and create a jargon-free report everyone can understand. Once complete, you should receive a cash rebate from HMRC or a deduction in your future tax liability. There's nothing worse than a missed opportunity, especially when it's a risk-free one. Call us now and we'll quickly work out if you're eligible for R&D tax relief. The money belongs to you, so let's claim it back from the taxman now. CATAX, helping you uncover the hidden R&D relief inside your business.
Hi Sue, welcome back. And
thank you.
A very
Thanks,
quick intro as to what R&D tax credits are. Perhaps you'd like to tell us a little bit more about what you've been doing with R&D tax credits.
Yes, thanks, Steve, and thanks for showing that. It really does get to the heart of the matter and just explain at a very high level what you may, as a small to medium-sized business, be missing out on. Because a lot of clients think that what they do is just their day job, and in actual fact they are putting a lot of money into R&D activity. So the average claim value has gone up quite considerably over the years. Currently it's £60,000 as a benefit back to clients. That's either as a cash sum, a corporation tax refund, and or an opportunity to carry your claim to offset future corporation tax bills. And it's available for limited companies, so the legislation is quite defined. HMRC give us a wide scope, but we have to fall into the criteria that they recommend. But that said, there is definitely money hiding in many people's business, and unless we ask the question of them, they're not going to know that they have it. So who can claim? Limited companies, obviously, but any type of industry, right through from engineering and mechanical would be the obvious ones, right through to IT companies or individuals who have had IT processes developed. We did a big claim for a solicitor's practice who you would never think had research and development tax relief, and it's because they had developed their own in-house customer relationship management system, workflow system that they had looked at in the marketplace, couldn't find anything that they wanted to use, so they developed their own with the help of some external resources, and that falls into research and development activity. So a little bit about, so anybody who is a limited company can make a claim. So what is research and development? activity. It falls into three different areas, really. Firstly, it's where a company has spent time and money researching a unique product or process, so process being IT development. They're pretty rare. It's very unusual to get something that is totally unique, that's never been seen before in the marketplace. And the other two, which is where most of the R&D claims fall, is where you appreciably improve a product or a process, or you duplicate the effect of a product or a process that's already readily available in the marketplace. So those are the two that we find most of our claims fall into. And the strapline behind that is it has to have either a technological or a scientific advance. So that's the jargon, that's the legal speak, that's HMRC's definition. What does that actually mean in practice? So I mentioned the solicitor's practice. They had developed their own unique process with the help of an external resource, a coding company, and all the time costs associated to everybody in that claim, in that project, is R&D activity, including any external invoices that are part and parcel. And also, which is an area where a lot of people don't make a claim, any plant and machinery that is bought and utilised as part of an R&D project. That could be the building, that new building to house the R&D project or process.
Yeah.
See that a lot in the food and the brewing industry, where they specifically develop a room for testing and trialing their R&D. So all of that comes under R&D activity and is a claim. So you know, product or process. So process, IT, we've mentioned. Product could be, you know, there's a widget out there that's used for specific circumstances, but you think you can use that widget in a different way, but you need to make it either stronger or lighter. So you're fundamentally changing maybe the materials or the way it's used. That starts to fall into R&D activity.
That's good. I mean, one of the things that surprised me a lot in the past is how construction companies have been able to claim this, where they've had to overcome specific issues on site. I've seen that a few times. And also the processes behind some of the things they do on site can also count as well. I mean, a few years ago, I was involved in a large claim, hundreds of thousands of pounds, based on something that the construction company didn't own. It was owned by somebody else, but they developed a process to implement it on their sites. And because it was a unique process, they were able to successfully claim. And I know that HMRC did come and ask a few questions about it, but in the end, they were quite convinced that R&D had taken place. So it's quite amazing sometimes some of the things that can qualify as R&D and people don't even realize it.
Well, you bring up a very good point, and there is a massive amount of R&D activity in the projects related to construction, and as far as where architects are involved as well. So if we're talking about construction, you know, anything that is non-standard, so you know, a standard approach might be the case when you're looking at construction of a building on a piece of land, and you have all the plans that go with that. But when it comes to getting on site, there will be, or there often are, unforeseen problems that arise through no fault of your own, i.e. you might be digging footings and you need to dig them around pipes that are already there. There could be issues around accessibility, and all of these impact on the job and the process, i.e. you might come across something that is a problem, and you have to go away and think, well, how am I going to overcome that problem? And it's not a straightforward answer. It's not something that you can just go, okay, well, I'll pull that off the shelf, I'll do that, and that will resolve it. Sometimes that happens, but it's where you can't do that, where you have to walk away, you scratch the head, you have to speak to a number of different services and then come up with a solution. And that might take time, and it's cost to the actual project that you're doing. And again, that also relates to where you have architects drawing plans for buildings, and then again when they come to be on site, there are unforeseen glitches that weren't accounted for, or the drawing requires something that is not an easy technique, and it has to be thought about, maybe has to be trialed and tested and then brought onto site, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't quite work, have to go back to the drawing board. So anything where it's a non-standard approach, process, procedure that requires some time and effort to resolve a problem starts to fall into the R&D activity.
Yeah. No, I think as well, a lot of businesses will be doing R&D at the moment as well, because we all have to discover new ways of operating our business because of coronavirus and things like that, how to get restarted again. There'll be new systems and people will be putting things online and stuff like that. I know that some things they might buy just as off the shelf things, but there'll be other things that they might have to develop from scratch in order to be able to continue to trade based under the restrictions that we're working under now, and particularly in creating new online businesses and stuff like that in order to sell what would have been traditionally things you would buy in shops and stuff. So many businesses will probably be thinking about new ways to do things, and some of that could well fall within R&D. It may not be huge claims, but there may be specific things that they are trying to overcome in order to be able to trade. And there will be definitely new things that people have not had to do before, or that there's not a ready answer for, because none of us have faced a crisis quite like this one before. So I know we were talking the other day about a retail business that was looking at creating itself more as an online business so that it could operate both in order to still continue to deliver things. So I think people really need to think quite hard about what activity they're doing and whether it's something that could be R&D. And the other thing that's important as well is that if you can buy it off the shelf, it's not going to be R&D. It means that you have to actually develop something yourself or refine something yourself that you couldn't readily buy. And equally, if a customer was prepared to pay for it, so if on the construction site, the customer said, I want you to develop it and I'm going to pay all your development costs, then it's not your development either. So there are some things that people need to think about, but I reckon there's a lot of R&D going on at the moment that people aren't even aware of necessarily, and they haven't thought about. Have you seen a few of those sort of claims coming through? So.
Well, we've certainly seen a change in the our current circumstances, and going forward, I think a lot of businesses have had to think about how they will change their business processes moving forward. Some of the retail, as you rightly say, have looked at how they can have an online presence if they don't already, and what does that entail. So, by the development of a website these days, websites are very much a commodity. So developing a very bespoke website is probably not going to attract R&D activity. But where it might do is if you have to have either in-house or via an external resource, develop maybe a point of sale system, or a warehouse flow system. So you might be managing what comes into your warehouse, so you know what stock levels you've got, what is going out of the other end. So you always know what your stock levels are, and that's good for managing your costs as well, rather than overstocking. Another one that I came across just recently was in the pharmaceutical industry, where they needed to have a system that recognized batch numbers from the supplier, the wholesaler, bringing in batches of a particular medical device or whatever, a medication. And then they would also know where that batch number had been sold to, just on the off chance that there was any sort of recall. They would know exactly who the wholesaler was, and they'd know exactly who they'd sent the items to. So so you know, there are all sorts of changes happening because of the current climate, and an online presence is one. And you mentioned something whereby, you know, you might buy a system off the shelf, and if you put that in your business and you use it, that's not going to be R&D. But where you take an existing system, you buy it in, but it has to be integrated with an existing system that you run, and you may have a professional in-house, or you may have to get somebody external to help you do that. That's the starting point of some potential R&D activity, because when you're integrating one system with another, the coding can often throw up all sorts of glitches that you wouldn't expect. So the coding would be right for the piece that you're adding, but it throws something out somewhere else. And that requires, generally, it's a time thing. So it's a time to understand how you're going to inbuild into an existing or integrate into an existing system. But also then trial it. You have to beta test it before you go live to the market. And then that generally takes time. So as soon as you're starting to bring in, you know, 2, 3, 5, 12 months, we've seen them 18 months, where you are constantly trying to upgrade and integrate processes, then you're starting to fall into R&D activity again.
Yeah, no, that's good. One of the things that we've done with Catax is we've created a quick audit that you can work through to see whether you might have a claim. So I'll just stick that on the screen so that everybody can see it. So there's this process that you can work through, just a sort of 10-minute audit, just to see if you think that you might have the basis of a claim. So there are various questions that you work through, which you can sort of answer various questions to see whether you possibly do have a claim, and then that will send that through to us so that we've got a chance of investigating whether there's a possibility of a claim. So also, so I just wanted to sort of see what happens when you. I'll just minimize that a minute and put us back on the screen. So if a business thinks it does have a claim, what's the process that they go through? How do you actually claim the money back?
Okay, so very potted process history. Initially, they would speak to me, 10-15 minutes, and a quick look through their website gives me an indication of what they do and whether they might be falling into R&D territory. We then have a very brief conversation about what R&D is, what the criteria are, and whether they think they have projects that they are working on that fall into that territory. If so, then we can explore those in a little bit more detail. If we find that there is, then at a high level, I'm just looking with the business at who's been involved in those projects, what the project was trying to achieve, what the outcome was, because not all projects come to fruition. Sometimes they fail and they're sort of fall by the wayside, and those projects are claimable as well. So if you've done projects, IT projects, or development in a particular product, and you've had to throw product away, it's just got wasted, or it's lying in the corner of your factory, then those you can also claim. And it's the time cost associated with the individuals who are developing the project, right from inception right through to where you either get a result or you've had to put it on one side and start again, maybe. And all that time cost has a value, and that's where we come in, and we extract that value by means of a conversation. So we do all the work in the background, leaving the client to get on with the day job. And then when we've come to a conclusion, we write a report around that. We get the associated project information and the robust information that we need to support a claim with HMRC. once that claim is in with HMRC have a turnaround time at the minute. It's much quicker than normal. They obviously appreciate that in these difficult times, businesses could benefit from a cash injection, and so we're getting those through relatively quickly. And then the client doesn't pay us anything until we get their money back from HMRC.
That's fantastic.
So we do all the work. All we need is a little bit of their time to explain to us what it is they do. We extract the relevant information. We put the report through to HMRC. Once paid, we take a small proportion and give the client the cash injection.
Perfect. And if they don't have enough profits, they can actually get it as a cash refund, can't they?
You're absolutely right. So it's aimed at the refunds that we get for businesses are corporation tax refunds. But if you've not paid corporation tax and are carrying forward losses, or you are a new starter, then HMRC allow you to commute your R&D benefit to a cash sum for a slightly lower amount. So corporation tax is 19% at the minute. So any benefit for corporation, 14.5 is the cash equivalent. And a lot of people will opt for that because they're trying to either continue to develop, and this gives them a little bit of leeway to then maybe support another employee or finish a project and move it forward faster than they possibly would have done.
Sounds like a fantastic opportunity for businesses to reduce their corporation tax liability or get some cash back. And in the current climate, I think, as I say, many must be doing some form of R&D, because we all have to find new ways to cope with the circumstances we find ourselves in. So there must be a lot of R&D, I think, out there at the moment. And people should be considering whether they potentially have a claim or not, because it's easy enough to have a think about it and think if you're doing something innovative or not. And if they think they are, then obviously do our audit and also contact you and speak to you about the opportunities for how to take it forward. Because it's free money basically, and well, it's not free money because you've already spent it already, but you get to claim the same costs that you've already incurred more than once. So what could be better than that, really? That's fantastic.
You're absolutely right. If you are in any doubt as to whether you might be in that claim, in that R&D activity, then, as you rightly say, use your free audit platform on the website, Steve, or they can contact me and we'll just have a chat. It's as easy as that. And I will be able to guide you as to the next steps.
Fantastic, Sue. Thanks very much for that. I think we're going to wrap it up there for today. So I'll leave your contact details on the end, and thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for inviting me, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Okay. Thanks, Sue.